kept my head down at a hardware store until a rude customer and my manager got me fired for standing up. Corporate proved me right, and I moved on. I worked at a small home repair store for almost 3 years, and for most of that time, I kept my head down and did my job. I opened the register, stocked shelves, helped people find parts, and fixed problems before they got big. It was boring most days, but it paid my bills, so I stayed. Then one Saturday morning, a man came in looking for a bathroom faucet. His name was Greg, and he had that loud, rude energy some people walk in with, like everyone else is already wasting his time. He slammed a box down on the counter and said he wanted the same faucet he bought last week, but a different color. I checked the model number, then checked the tag, and told him we only had the one finish in stock. He rolled his eyes so hard I could see the whites. He said we had it online yesterday. I told him our website sometimes showed items from other stores, and if he wanted, I could check the warehouse order list. That is when he started getting mean. He leaned over the counter and said I was useless, then asked if anybody in the place knew how to do their job. A couple customers turned to look. I could feel my face getting hot, but I kept my voice calm and said, "Sir, I can help you, but I need you to stop talking to me like that." That made him worse. He wanted my full name. He wanted my manager. He said he was going to get me fired. I called for Denise, my store manager, because that was the rule. When she came up front, Greg changed his whole tone like magic. He got sweet and careful and said I was rude to him first and refused to help. I stared at him because I could not believe how easy it was for him to lie. Denise pulled me aside and asked what happened. I told her exactly what he said and exactly what I said. I even told her there were 3 customers who heard it. She looked annoyed, but not at him. At me. She said, "Just apologize and keep the sale moving. We don't need problems." I remember looking past her at Greg, who was standing there with his arms crossed and a smug little smile on his face. Something in me just snapped into place. I said no. I am not apologizing for asking him to stop yelling at me. The air went dead quiet. Denise folded her arms and told me not to embarrass her in front of a customer. Greg made this tiny laugh, like he already knew he won. Then Denise said if I couldn't be a team player, maybe this wasn't the right place for me anymore. I asked her if she was serious. She said yes, right there at the front counter in front of everybody. She told me to hand in my apron and go home. My hands were shaking so hard, I could barely get the apron string undone. I could feel every eye in the store on me. Greg stood there with his mouth half open, like he was enjoying a show. I set the apron on the counter, looked at Denise, and said, "You just fired the person who was actually helping for the guy who came in to pick a fight." She told me not to make a scene. That was almost funny, because she had already made one. I walked out before my voice cracked, but once I got to my car, I sat there gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I could still hear Greg in my head, and Denise telling me to apologize kept replaying over and over. That night, one of the cashiers texted me a photo. Greg had filled out a complaint form online, but he made one mistake. He used his real email, and it showed his full name and the customer survey code from that exact purchase. The cashier said the store cameras had recorded everything, clear as day, including Greg yelling first and Denise telling me to apologize. The next morning I called corporate and sent in my own complaint. I attached the camera times, the store number, and the names of the customers who said they would back me up. I also filed for unemployment, and I started looking for another job that same day. 2 days later, corporate called me back. They asked if I would come in for a statement. I did. They had already reviewed the footage. Denise got written up for backing a lying customer and for firing me without cause. Greg's complaint got denied, and his account was flagged. I never went back to that store, but I did get something better than my old job. A month later, a hardware shop across town hired me on the spot after hearing what happened. The manager there said, "If someone treats our staff like that, we walk them out the door, not the employee." When I got my first paycheck there, I laughed out loud in my kitchen. It was less about the money and more about the feeling. I had been punished for telling the truth, but in the end, the truth still won. And Denise. Last I heard, she was no longer managing anything. If you like this story, then follow us for more.